So this video is to go over your CUA 3 review to help you prepare for your test. So question 1 says, a part of a linear function g is graphed on the grid, and then asks me, what is the domain and what is the range? So if I'm doing domain is my x values. So I'm going to go to my x-axis. I'm going to actually highlight this x-axis for a second. And this red right here. And then I'm going to go up to the x-axis. So right here is an x-axis value and over here. So the one over here on the left is -6. Domain is my x, and then my right-hand side is a 6. This dot right here is a closed circle, so we write less than or equal to. And this dot right here is an open circle, so we just do less than, no equal to sign. So now we're going to do our range. Range is our y values. So then I'm going to go to the y-axis, right here, the y. And I'm going to do how low and how high I go. So my low dot right here is at -1. And my high spot over here is at 3. So we always write smallest to biggest. -1, the range is y, my big value is 3. The -1 right here has a closed circle, so we write less than or equal to. And the one up top right here is an open to, so we just write less than. And so this is my domain. And this is my range. Number 2 says a part of a linear function g is graphed on the grid. What inequality best describes the domain? Domain is your x's. So if we look over here for a second, good test-taking strategy, g of x is a fancy way of writing y, which would be the range. Same thing here. So we automatically can eliminate C and D. And now if we're doing test-taking strategies, if you look at A and B, they both have the same values. So here's my -6, and here's my 4 right here. -6 right here has a closed circle, so it should have an equal to sign, like this does in B. And on the other side, it's an open circle. In letter A, I'm missing the equal to sign, so it's not A. It has to be letter B. On the next page, the graph of a line is shown on the grid, and then it wants you to find the rate of change, which is like saying m, or the slope, and then it wants the x and y intercepts. So let's do our x-intercept in red and our y-intercept in green, and then slope can be blue. So if you find your x-intercept right here, my x-intercept is 2, or we can write that as 2, 0. Remember, x-intercepts are always in the form x, 0. And then I find my y-intercept right here. So my y-intercept is 4, or we can write that as an ordered pair of 0, 4. Y-intercepts always come in the form 0, y. Once I have 2 dots, which I already have, my x and y intercepts, I can count my slope, or my rise over my run. So I'm going to draw my triangle. And so to go from green to red, I go down, and you can count 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is my rise, and I'm going down, so it's a -4. And then my run is over 1, 2. This was in the positive direction of 2. So my rate of change is equal to my m, is equal to my slope, is equal to my rise over my run. My rise was -4, and my run was 2. Type -4 divided by 2 in the calculator, and it will reduce it for you. Your slope is -2. Number 4 is the same idea. So I'm going to do my x-intercept in red, my y-intercept in green. So my x-intercept is over here at -6 or -6 comma 0. My y-intercept is right here at 3 or at 0 comma 3. And then I can count my slope, my rise over my run. So draw your triangle like this. Remember, my rise is the up and down, my run is the side to side, and I'm rising 1, 2, 3. And I'm going over to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my rate of change is my m, which is my slope, which is my rise over my run, which is equal to 3 over 6. Type that in the calculator. It will reduce it for you to 1/2. 5 and 6 are exactly the same. So take a second and pause the video, and then you're going to try 5 and 6. So number 5, my x-intercept is -3, which you can write as -3 comma 0. My y-intercept is 2 or 0 comma 2. And then I can count my slope between them. So draw your little triangle. And I'm going to rise up 1, 2, so a +2. And then I run 1, 2, 3. So slope is my rise over my run. My rise was 2. My run was 3. For number 6, my x-intercept is 3 or 3 comma 0. My y-intercept, also 3. This one's, however, 0 comma 3. So I'm going to draw my triangle. And I'm going down, so my rise is going to be a negative, and it's -1, 2, 3. And then my run, I go over 1, 2, 3, but to the positive. So my slope is my rise over my run. So my -3 divided by 3, which when you put in the calculator will come out to be a -1. Number 7. Number 7 says to write an equivalent equation, or equation that's equivalent to what we were given. S equals BH plus 2B, and I need to solve for B. So S equals PH plus 2B. I'm going to put my little invisible force field around my 2B. That's who I want to get by themselves. So the first thing I need to move is the pH. And the pH is positive, so to move it across this red line, you subtract it, minus pH, minus pH. So I have S minus pH equals 2B. And I wasn't solving for 2B, I was just solving for my B. And so B and the 2 are multiplying. So to unmultiply, I'm going to divide everything, both sides, by a 2. So that gets me, these 2's cancel off, S minus pH all over 2 is going to equal my B. That's your answer. Number 8 says area equals length times width, or L times W. And that what is an equivalent equation when solved for W? So I have A equals LW, and I want to solve for W. Well, the L's with the W right now. And to get the W by itself, I need to move the L. And they're multiplying, so the opposite of multiply is to divide. And if you do it on one side, you have to do it on the other side. These L's cancel off, so I'm left with A over L equals my W. Very often you guys get to problems like number 9, and because there's lots of words, you stop reading. And I really hope that that's something we stop doing, because this really is not that bad. We have to look for some key words, and then we can get rid of answer choices using good test-taking strategies. So I'm going to read what's going on. The graph models a linear relationship between the number of monthly payments made on a loan and the remaining balance. And the question says, which statement describes the x-intercept? So if we're talking about the x-intercept, I want to go to the x-axis. And the place where I cross this x-axis is right here. So my answer has to have a 60 in it. So if I look over here, it's not B, it's not D, because I need to have that 60. Now I'm going to keep reading the graph. The x-axis is labeled in monthly payments. So when I read A, the x-intercept is 60, which represents the initial balance. Nope, that's not what it says right there. But C says, which represents the number of monthly payments. So my answer is C. So pause the video and try number 10. Just take it apart and look at what they're asking you for and read the graph. So 10 says that the water level of a river was measured each day during a 2-week period. The graph models the linear relationship between the water level of the river in feet and the number of days the water was measured. And then the question asks us for what is the y-intercept. So here's my y-axis, and here's where I cross that y-axis. So my answer needs to have a 16 in it. The only one that has a 16 in it is H. The initial water level was 16 feet, and it says on the y-axis water level. So my answer has to be H. Okay, number 11, there's lots of ways to do. Lots of different ways. So let's talk about all the different ways, and then you're going to pick the way that works the best for you. So it asked me for the slope. On your formula sheet, you don't have to memorize it. You just need to know where it is. There's a slope formula. That's the slope formula. So I'm going to go over here and label my points. x1, y1, x2, y2. So I can plug that in. So my y2 is going to go the first one, and then my next one's going to be y1 over my, x2 minus my x1. And this side in the middle is always a minus. So the first one is y2. Here's my y2, it's 7. The next one is y1. Here's y1, it's 4. x2 on the bottom. x2 is right here, it's 16. And finally x1, and x1 is right there, and it's 9. And then you can literally grab your calculator or Desmos and type it in the exact way we wrote it. So you type this in the calculator or into Desmos with the parentheses just the way we wrote it, and you will come out with 3 over 7. Now, if it spits out in the calculator to you that it's a decimal, you just need to do once a decimal's on the screen, you press menu, 2, and then enter, which is approximate my decimal to a fraction. It will spit 3/7 out to you. So my calculator, in my Desmos, I can insert one real quick. If you just type Desmos EOC, it should be the first link. You know it's the right link because it has the green bar across the top. My formula is a fraction, so press divide the fraction. And then on top, parenthesis, 7, close parenthesis, minus open parenthesis, 4, close the parenthesis. On the bottom, I had open parenthesis, 16, close parenthesis, minus open parenthesis, 9, close the parenthesis. And if you look at Desmos, this thing right here gave you a decimal, but if you click right next to number 1 where the little fraction button is, it will change it to a fraction 2, which is the 3/7 we just had. So we're going to the next. And on number 12, you can do the slope formula. We also have another way we can do this in Desmos. And I'm going to show you how to do this in calculator. So number 12, let's do another way. So for number 12, I can use the graphing calculator. Well, Desmos in this case, then we'll use the graphing calculator. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a plus in the top corner. I'm going to press table. I'm going to put the information in they gave me. So my first x is -8. And then my other x is -2. Oops. -2. -8's y friend was 3. -2's y friend was -5. And if you look for a second, these right here, they always will pair up. They always go back to like they were the ordered pairs. So once I type this in here, I can go into a new line. And in this new line, I'm going to type down. I'm going to type. Now, if you look up top, I don't have x and y. I have x1 and y1. So we're going to type y1. And then we don't use the equal sign. We use a little tilde, which is this looking thing. And then we're going to type the letter m, because that was my slope. And then we're going to type x1 plus b. That looks like y equals mx plus b. And if you look, see how my m is a fraction? Sorry, I want m to be a fraction. It's a decimal right now. So what I can do is click on the next line and just put the letter m. And it's a decimal. Click right under number 3, so the little fraction bar, and click it. It will change it to a fraction for you. So there's another way to do number 12. So we know from the calculator that number 12's answer is -4/3. You could have done the x1, y1, x2, y2, and put it in your slope formula. You also can use your calculator. On the calculator, do menu 613. And remember, you have to put your curly braces and put your -8, -2 for your x values. And for your y values, you would do +3, -5. And press enter, and it would give you out the m. The next problem says that I want to write equivalence, and that is equal, but I want to solve for y. So I'm going to draw my line and put temporary force field in front of my 4y. The 3x needs to move. So it's positive, so I'm going to -3x, -3x. Don't drop the negative. -4y equals -3x plus b, which was, not b, plus 6. I want to solve for just the y right here. So the y is multiplying with the -4. So to undo multiply, I'm going to divide by -4. And over here, I divide each piece by -4. So if I type this in a calculator, y equals -3 divided by -4 is going to come out to 3/4 x. And then 6 divided by -4 is going to get me a -3/2. Pause the video for a second and try 14, 15, and 16. They're all exactly the same as number 13. And then come back and check yourself. So for number 14, we draw a line. We're solving for y, so circle your 10y stuff. The thing on the same side with the y is the 6x. It's positive, so to move it, I need to subtract it. So get 10y equals, I write the x stuff first, negative 6x plus 15. Then I'm going to divide every single piece by a 10. Because to get the y by himself, he was multiplying by 10. And the opposite of multiply is divide. Y equals. If you type negative 6 divided by 10 in the calculator, it will reduce it for you and give you negative 3 over 5x. Plus, if you type 15 divided by 10 in the calculator, it will give you 3 over 2. That's your answer. Number 15. Draw a line. I'm solving for y because if you look right here, slope-intercept form looks like y equals mx plus b. Oops. Plus b. And all of these say y equals, so I need to get the y by himself. So circle 15y. This 12x is not circled, so I have to minus it and minus it. 15y equals negative 12x plus 45. I need the y by himself. The y is multiplying with 15. So to undo multiply, you have to divide every single piece by 15. Y equals negative 12 divided by 15 in a calculator reduces to negative 4 over 5 x plus the 45 divided by 15 is 3. So this would get us answer choice A. So pause the video and go ahead and try number 16. So you draw your line. And we got to solve for y. So we're going to circle this 8y. I'm going to move the 4x over to the other side by subtracting it. And so 8y equals negative 4x plus 20. We want to get just the y by himself. The y is multiplying with 8, so divide by 8, divide by 8, divide by 8. Everything has to get the same treatment, so everyone gets divided by 8. Y equals, if you type negative 4 over 8 in a calculator, it's come out with negative 1/2 x. And if you type 20 over 8 in a calculator, it'll reduce down to 5 over 2, making the answer choice A. Oh, some good old review problems. So we're going to solve the inequality. 2d minus 10 is less than or equal to 3d minus 7. So I'm going to draw a line. Call this my letter side and my number side. On my letter side, 10 is just a number, so 10 is negative. So to undo negative, add 10. On the other side, we add 10, and I put the 10 with the 7 so I can combine like terms. So now I have 2d less than or equal to 3d. Negative 7 plus 10 makes a plus 3. Now on the number side, 3d is a number, so I need to minus 3d because it's positive, and minus 3d to the other side. Equal treatment always. Those cancel off, and I get negative 1d is less than or equal to this 3 down here. Now my last step is I need to divide by a negative 1 and divide by a negative 1. And when I do that, when you divide by a negative, you have to flip your inequality sign. So d now becomes greater than or equal to a negative 3. Sorry, just shrinking my work down for a quick second. And so now that I have that answer, I can go to my number line. I'm going to put negative 3 in the middle of my number line. It says that d is greater than or equal to negative 3. This equal to sign means it's a closed circle. And remember, you go to your inequality and draw the arrow. Since it's pointing in this direction to the right, we're going to shade to the right. This is something that's been on the last test, and we didn't do so great on. So take a chance and prove that now you've got it. Pause the video and do number 18. So number 18 says negative 5n plus 8 is less than negative 3n plus 4. Draw your line, letter side, number side. On my letter side, I need to move 8. So I get negative 5n is less than negative 3n. 4 minus 8 is a negative 4. On my number side, I now need to add the 3n over. Those cancel off. I get negative 2n is less than negative 4. Divide by negative 2 and divide by negative 2. Now when you do that, remember you flip the inequality sign, n becomes greater than positive 2. So when we go to our number line and we put a 2 down, now this time we don't have an equal to sign, so we're going to use an open circle. And again, our arrow is pointing to the right, so we're going to shade to the right. On number 19, we can do any version of finding the slope we want. We can take these points and put them in Desmos. We can call this x1, y1, x2, y2, and use the slope formula. Let's do another way that we haven't talked about yet. And again, you can do any of the ways we want. If I want to talk about my rise, my earnings here is my rise. So from 30 up to 84, I rise plus 54. And over here, this is my run. It's my X stuff. I started at 0 and went up to 6. So that means I went up 6. Slope is my rise over my run, which gets me 54 over 6, which will get you a slope of 9, which in this story problem means $9 per hour. Last problem, you can pick any of the ways you want to do slope. You can do, let's list them out one more time. You can call this x1, y1, x2, y2, and then use the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You can put it in Desmos with a table like we did earlier in the video. And then after you do the table, in the second line, remember you have to put y1 squiggly or tilde at, oh, sorry, not that. M x1 plus b. You can count the rise over the run. So right here, I go up. This is my rise. I go up 40. And then over here, I go up. This is my run, 4. And that would get me rise over run, 40 over 4, which would get me 10. So all of these versions should get you 10. And we've talked about the calculator once before, but let's actually go in and show you how to do it on the calculator one time. So if I wanted to do number 20 in my calculator, remember every time we use the calculator, we always press home up here, and then we always pick new document. And in this case, I want to add a calculator page. And the calculator steps we wrote down earlier were menu 613. So I'm going to press menu, the number 6 for statistics, number 1 for stat calculations, and number 3 is that y equals mx plus b linear regression. In the X list, remember you have to put those curvy brackets. So you press your colored button, mine's blue, yours might be yellow, but control, and then down here next to the 0, you'll get the curvy brackets. And then in the X list, you're gonna list the X in order, just like it is in your list. So you're gonna put 0, and then you have to put a comma, 4, and then another comma, and then you have to put 10, comma, 20. Then we go down to the Y list, and we have to put the curly brackets again, so control, and then that parenthesis next to 0, and we put them in order. So 0's Y friend was 80, comma, 120, comma, 180, comma, and then 280. And so then we go down here to the F1 and we delete it, and we press OK, and it will show up, and M is 10 right there. So So now you have all these different ways that you can find slope. And again, on the test, you just got to pick the one that's going to work the best for you. Happy studying.